Joe Tate will soon come to regret the moment he chose to deceive Dawn Taylor, confidently assuring her that there were no more secrets lurking in his past. What he presented as honesty was nothing more than a carefully constructed lie, designed to protect himself and maintain control over the fragile life he has built. A calculating and often merciless businessman, Joe has never been recognized for compassion or generosity. Over the past year, his actions have grown increasingly ruthless, marked by manipulation, betrayal, and a willingness to destroy anyone who stands in his way. The extent of his schemes has been so extreme that even a younger, more reckless version of himself might struggle to justify them. His trail of damage has left relationships shattered, families torn apart, and lives permanently altered. Joe has consistently defended his behavior with the belief that success in business justifies any action. In his mind, strategy and survival outweigh morality. However, this perspective completely collapses when viewed through the eyes of Moira Dingle, who became one of the biggest victims of his ambition. When Robert Sugden revealed Joe's involvement in the nightmare that led to her imprisonment, Moira's world was turned upside down all over again. In a genre where characters frequently endure hardship, Moira's recent experiences stand out as particularly devastating. She didn't just face a temporary setback, she lost nearly everything that defined her life. Her home, her farm, and her freedom were all stripped away in a cruel and calculated plan orchestrated by Joe. Determined to gain control of Butler's farm, he manipulated events behind the scenes, using Robert to plant falsified identification documents and passports on Moira's land. These items were linked to victims of a trafficking operation, making the situation even more horrifying. Once the evidence was in place, it didn't take long for the authorities to become involved. A tip-off ensured that the police would uncover the planted items, leading directly to Moira's arrest. Suddenly, she found herself accused of crimes she had no connection to, facing charges related to modern slavery as well as murder after bodies were discovered on her property. The weight of these accusations was immense, and the potential consequences were life-altering. She was staring at the possibility of spending decades behind bars, all because of a scheme designed to benefit Joe. Throughout this ordeal, Joe showed little to no remorse. His focus remained on his own gain, seemingly indifferent to the suffering he had caused. In contrast, Robert began to feel the weight of his actions. Guilt pushed him to take responsibility, and he made it his mission to ensure that Moira would not remain imprisoned for something she didn't do. Through determination and effort, he eventually succeeded in helping her secure her freedom. However, the truth refused to stay buried. Unable to keep silent any longer, Robert confessed everything to Moira. The revelation was explosive. Already traumatized by her experience, Moira was now forced to confront the reality that her suffering had been deliberately engineered. Furious and heartbroken, she confronted Robert before making a decisive move toward Home Farm, armed with a shotgun and driven by a need for justice. Her anger was not only understandable, but deeply rooted in everything she had lost. While she had been fighting for her freedom, life had continued without her in the most painful ways. Kane had received a cancer diagnosis during her absence, and she had not been there to support him. Their children had been left to cope with fear and uncertainty, worried about losing both of their parents. The emotional toll of missing those moments added another layer to her rage. When Moira arrived at Home Farm, the tension was immediate and overwhelming. Joe, faced with the consequences of his actions, was visibly shaken. The confidence and control he usually displayed were replaced by fear as he pleaded with her not to pull the trigger. The situation escalated further when Graham Foster appeared, attempting to calm things down and urging Moira to reconsider what she was about to do. At that critical moment, Dawn entered the scene and was confronted with a shocking and terrifying sight. The intensity of the situation left her horrified, and she desperately begged Moira to lower the weapon. In a dramatic and emotional plea, she revealed that she was pregnant with Joe's child, hoping that this news would be enough to stop the violence. The revelation stunned Joe. Despite everything, the idea of having a child had always been something he wanted. It represented a chance at legacy, perhaps even redemption in his own eyes. For a brief moment, the chaos paused as the weight of Dawn's words settled over everyone present. Moira, faced with the reality of what her actions could mean, eventually chose to stand down. The anger remained, but she lowered the gun, unwilling to cause further harm in that moment. Joe, quick to regain his composure, immediately began to control the narrative. He fed Dawn a series of lies, twisting the truth about Moira's accusations and attempting to paint himself in a more favorable light. Despite his efforts, something had shifted. Dawn, though relieved that the immediate danger had passed, couldn't ignore the inconsistencies in what she was being told. Her curiosity grew, and so did her suspicion. The seeds of doubt had been planted, and they would not be easily dismissed. This was not the first time Dawn had been confronted with the darker side of Joe's character. On multiple occasions, she had been shocked by the lengths he was willing to go to in order to achieve his goals. Each revelation chipped away at the trust she had in him, yet she continued to give him chances, hoping that he would change. One of the most disturbing incidents involved Joe using a video of Victoria Sugden in a life-threatening situation as leverage to blackmail Robert. The situation escalated further, ultimately leading to a death. For many, this would have been an unforgivable line crossed. Yet even then, Dawn chose to stay, offering Joe one final opportunity to prove that he could be honest. Her condition was simple: no more secrets. She needed to believe that she knew the full truth about the man she was building a future with. Joe assured her that there was nothing left to reveal, reinforcing the illusion that he had nothing more to hide. But the truth has a way of surfacing, especially when someone like Moira is determined to expose it. With her anger still burning and her desire for justice stronger than ever, she is unlikely to remain silent. If she tells Dawn everything, the consequences could be devastating for Joe. Dawn may finally come to understand the full extent of Joe's actions, the manipulation, the cruelty, and the harm he has caused to so many people. Realizing that he once went as far as stealing a kidney from someone would only reinforce the reality that he is not the man she believed him to be. Faced with this truth, Dawn will have to make an impossible decision. Staying with Joe would mean accepting a life built on lies and compromise, while leaving him would mean walking away from everything she thought she had. With a child on the way, the stakes are even higher. There is a strong possibility that she may choose to leave, prioritizing the safety and future of her baby over her relationship with Joe. Protecting her child from the influence of someone capable of such actions could become her primary concern. If she does decide to go, it could mark the end of Joe's carefully constructed vision of a perfect family life. Meanwhile, Moira's promise of revenge still hangs in the air. Her decision to walk away from the confrontation at Home Farm does not mean she has forgiven or forgotten. Instead, it suggests that she is waiting for the right moment to strike, using truth as her weapon rather than violence.